I'd like to introduce Judy Oliver. Unfortunately, Judy has been so busy over the show, she's losing her voice. So if you would like to turn up the volume on your headphone, there's a little dial on the side where you can change the volume controls. Okay. Also, during the session, please do submit questions through the app, and I'll pick them up here. So we'll have about 10 minutes for questions at the end of the session. But I'm delighted to introduce Judy, who's going to take us through the session today.
Thank you very much. I hope you can all hear me. Great, thank you. Yes, so my name's Judy Oliver. I'm a founder of Clarity4D, and the Clarity4D is a psychometric profiling tool, and our logo represents the helix of never-ending personal development. So that's an important thing to remember, that our learning is forever, it's continuous, ongoing. So, have you ever been in a learning environment when you felt a bit like in a herd, going through a sheep dip? That it's a very generic program that doesn't resonate with you. So, why is that? Why are these programs so generic? If we look at people more closely, of course, they're all different. They learn things in a different way. They take in information in a different way. They make decisions in a different way. And they communicate in a different way from others. They're individuals. And that's what I think we should be thinking about when we think about leadership development programs. There is the individuals I forgot to click on. So, have you now considered looking at creating or purchasing a leadership program? And do you get confused by all the different types of leadership styles there are? It can be, how do you know which one's going to be right for the individuals and for your organization? All these labels may be quite confusing. And if you don't choose the right one for your company or your people, it can be an expensive operation with little results. So I've done some research about this, and I looked at Forbes magazine. And one of the things that came out of that, I think you can probably read the points I'm making. They describe the difference between leadership training and leadership development. The training is a series of one-off training events that don't work because they're done in isolation and are theoretical. Whereas leadership development builds skills over time and an application within the workplace. That is the difference. That's what works. The development over time and applying what has been learned in the workplace. So I just saw in this article 3 tips to developing leadership programs. So first of all, thinking about leadership in your organization, start early. Use an assessment to identify how that individual thinks and communicates. That was one of the key points, the first point. The second point, don't let that development just be a 1 or 2 days back to back. That's the end of it. That's the sheep dip event. You need to be applied in the real world. So this is where we're getting this evidence from. And thirdly, don't pick and choose your leaders. They could be anybody in your company, organization. So help everyone develop leadership skills. Think of it as a learning culture, that helix of never-ending development. And there's a fourth thing that I picked up as well. that very often leadership programs are very one size fits all, the sheep dip, and programs can be so generic that they don't actually think about the values of your company and the individuals within it. So, have you ever been in a situation like that? Anybody ever had a leader or a manager who doesn't listen? Yeah? Okay. So, as one of the key points was that everyone should be learned to develop leadership skills, I'm going to ask you, how good are you at listening? You, how good are you at listening? How good is your memory? And how good are you at coaching other people? So, when we start talking about the things that the Forbes magazine talked about, the start early, use an assessment to help people. First of all, know yourself. Understand your strengths and your areas for potential development. Be open to feedback. Once you understand yourself and you understand, others, think about the way they communicate, what motivates them, how they make decisions, how they take action, how they respond when they're under stress, and also, of course, their areas of strengths and potential. So leadership is, first of all, understanding yourself and then others. So this is where I'd like to introduce you to Clarity4D, because that's the assessment tool that we're recommending, obviously. But before I do, can I ask you all to think about and put your hand up if you know off by heart all the values of your organization? Hands up. That's congratulations. That's great. Wouldn't it be wonderful if everybody who joins your organization was able to do that as well? So I'm going to challenge you now to those things about listening, remembering, and coaching. I'm going to tell you a list of 9 things. At the end of my talk, I want to see whether you remember them all. Okay. Right, there's a big jar of jam, an umbrella, a dog, a yacht, an onion, a llama, an igloo, and an elephant and a rabbit. Okay? So we'll see whether you remember those shortly. So introducing Clarity4D psychometric tool. Based on Carl Jung, we know you're a very familiar person for lots of profiles. You may be using a profile already, MBTI, DISC, Insights. So his theories have been well known. And I love this quote. Sorry, you'll have to read it, I can't see it. The quote that he says, it links in with what we feel is so important. Understanding self is really, really key to personal development and leadership. Okay, so once we have established that it's based on Jungian theory, I'm now going to go back. And I won't ask you now about those 9 things, but I'm going to give you a little help, because you may not have got them all. So I'm going to give you a little help to help you remember them. And I'd like you to picture a large, big jar of strawberry jam. And out of the top of the strawberry jam is an umbrella. And when the umbrella opens, out jumps a dog. And the dog lands on a beautiful, luxurious yacht. but you can't go down to the deck because the lower deck is stopped by a huge onion. And the onion is being chewed on by a llama. You know, llamas chew like that. And the llama's rear end is stuck in an igloo. And the igloo has got a violin stuck out of it. I think I might have forgotten to tell you that one, actually. Oops. And the violin is being eaten by, or being wrapped around the trunk of an elephant. And hanging on the tail is a rabbit. Okay, now, can you turn to somebody near you and see whether you can remember all those things now? Someone near you, just to coach you. One of the key skills, coaching. Okay, more or less done. Okay, we'll check in at the end, but that technique of making everything large and colourful and lifelike and joined up is a way to help teach your people to remember the values of your company. Create a picture of the value and make it larger than life and link it. So if you can train people to do that, it's called mind mapping. Oh, no, it's not. Something like that. It helps you to create the pictures and the continuity. So that's my tip for remembering the values of your company. Okay. Going back to my presentation. You may well be familiar with the colors that are shown here. What we like to do is associate it with energy, because energy cannot be destroyed, it changes form. So we have all four energies within us. Some of them we prefer more than others. They're all linked to the four elements: fire, earth, water, and air. And people remember that. We work globally. Africa is very happy, loves this. China, Australia, all over the world, they get it very quickly. So we are very careful not to label people by calling them a label of color. No, we talk about energy being dynamic. And why Clarity4D profiles? We use the Jungian psychology, we use the terminology of energy, and then we have the 4D process. The process helps to embed the learning, make it effective. And that is, first of all, discover yourself, awareness. That's the first dimension of personal development. The second dimension of personal development is discuss. Discuss. Share your profile, talk to people, have conversations, be open to learning that other people may not see you as you see yourself. And if you think of maybe some leaders that you've come across, they get so far in their development that they're not open to the feedback so much. They think, I've done all this, I don't need to do it again. So be open to being the feedback, the conversations. The third dimension is when we can diversify and unlock our potential. And the fourth dimension, if you're a physicist, will tell you it's time to develop your potential over time. That's the 4D process. And then we have our sage thinking, that things should be simple, affordable, global, I've already mentioned that, and effective. no complex graphs or labeling language, saves time and avoids discriminatory attitudes. Affordable for those organizations who typically would not profile people because they can't afford it, or to include more people in the process. I've mentioned that already. And our 4D process helps to embed it. So what we felt was there's a gap in the market, really. There are loads of leadership programs out there, but they don't have the combination of helping to understand the individual and then to embed it in the organization after the leadership program has ended. It could be you get people coming in, doing it, and then out again. And then 2 years later, you think, what was that all about? We haven't actually gained anything. So with the combination of the profiling and our program, which is set out like this, written on the leaflet you've got in front of you as well. You have to have some water. And then the personalization and customization for your organization. So, okay. So what happens after the Leading with Clarity program is finished? We would like to have internal accreditation so that you can continue the journey. When the external facilitators have gone away, you can continue it within your organization, keeping the costs low to you, but developing the culture that you would like to develop, that's right for your organization, because people have been learning within, right from the start, as we say, begin early. So that is where what we're pitching really for you to think about. So don't pick and choose your leaders. Help everyone with these 3 leadership skills. So I'm going to now go back to those nine objects. Can you remember what they were? I don't know whether I can hear you, but can somebody say what the first one was? Jam. Yeah. Jam. J for jam. What was the next one? Umbrella. Yeah. U for umbrella. Next one. Dog. Dog leak, yeah. Dog. D for dog. The next one was? Yes, a yacht. Judy. Next one was an onion. Then there was yeah. And then I forgot the violin. I say igloo. I'm getting tired. Yes, you're better than me. And then the violin. And then the elephant and the rabbit. So that's a great way to remember names as well. That's another leadership skill. So that's me, Judy Oliver. Clarity4D is our company. Know yourself, understand others, and excel together in the leadership way. Thank you very much for listening to my croaky voice and for joining in. And if you have any questions, then please feel free.
Thank you, Judy.
Oh, thank you.
So do feel free to put the questions on the app. I've just got one question that's come through. Can you give an example of some recent international work, Judy?
Okay. In any particular country? Or
no.
Okay. Well, our business partners in Australia have worked with big organisations in the water field, local government, Mercer, KPMG. In Africa, we work with a lot of charities for emerging markets, but banks are really big in Africa. We've got KenGen, which is the energy for Kenya. Cooperative bank, lots of banks work with us in Africa.
Brilliant.
Yeah, okay. I answered your question.
Is some of that work different in different markets in terms of profiling and?
Not the same philosophy, the same approach, but the African way is far different from the UK way. They sit around trees and they do music and dancing, and they enjoy talking, and it's a much longer process than you would find in the UK. And Australia, it has to be, we've only got half a day, so we have to cram in some results in half a day.
Right.
Yeah, it is interesting.
And what do you think is the future for your business and leadership development? Is there anything that you're working on at the moment that you think is?
One of the things that we think is important is the integration of what we learn as the individual into Workday and systems like that you may already have, using platforms that you have. We can integrate Clarity4D into that as well, so everything is seamless. From when you onboard apprentices coming, or young graduates, people coming to their first employed job from education, we have a profile that helps them to get established into the world of work. And then it goes through a leadership cycle, team dynamic cycle. Really, it's a one-stop shop with the API, I think it's called, the application of this technology into their own. So we believe that brings it much more personalised and customised to the company.
Right, so it's sort of technology agnostic. You can work with different providers.
Yeah, my co-director is actually, his background is software for HR systems.
Okay.
So I've got the learning side, he's got the technology side.
Brilliant. Okay. And you're exhibiting today, aren't you? So
Yeah.
people do want to come and find out more. You're on stand C39. Okay, I haven't had any more questions through, but I'd just like to thank Judy again, particularly for persevering with a lack of voice. And I hope that was a really useful session for everyone. So if you can join me in a round of applause. Thank you. Great. So take a bit of time back. We'll see you soon on the next session. Thank you.